What's up, Lowrider family? Welcome back to another episode on Low Lows and More. And today we're going to be talking about maintenance on a lowrider. Excuse the noise in the background. You know, got some neighbors having some fun on a hot day in the little pool. But so maintenance on a lowrider. It's pretty much straightforward. You know, your oil change, your coolant, power steering, brake fluid. Right. One thing I did want to show you guys, I know you guys were asking me on how the parts were going to look on the truck. Powder coating, so those are the arms, and these are the valve covers with the fan. So, I mean, it looks okay. It doesn't look bad. So, let's see. A lot of people think, well, what do I have to maintenance on a lowrider? Believe it or not, on a lowrider, there's quite a bit. You gotta swap out your upper and lower ball joints every few years, depending how hard you guys go on your lowrider. And you guys have to swap out your inner and inner and outer tie rods. That's for your steering. Last thing you want those to break and fail when you're cruising your lowrider. You know, last thing you want is get in a car crash and have all your hard work to go to waste. So I recommend your inner and outer steering rods be swapped out, you know, once every 2 or 3 years, depending on how you drive your lowrider. Do you daily it? Do you, let's say, do you say summer comes by? Do you guys really drive the crap out of them? Do you guys hit the switch a lot? Just take that in consideration, and just go by that, right? And then bushings. Don't want to forget about bushings on the control arms on the uppers and lowers. Can't really see the lowers, but where that bolt is right there, where that bolt goes through on this control arm, there's a bushing. So make sure you swap those bushings out too, or else you'll start hearing them click clack. So yeah. You know, maintenance also would be your cylinders. You want to make sure that the O-rings inside are maintained. Like I said, every 2 to 3 years you want to swap out the O-rings from the inside, depending how hard you go on the hydraulics. How crazy do you guys hit the switch, you know? Make sure you guys change your oil on your motors. It does a lot. I do recommend running full synthetic, or you can run a synthetic blend motor oil. Depending on the size of your motor, make sure you guys do some research on how much oil to put in it. Don't pay attention to that wiring mess over there. I'm still cleaning it up. I'm still in the process of making sure it looks cleaner. So make sure your oil change done every 3,000 miles or every 3 months. Your coolant, if it looks a little brown, swap it out. It's pretty easy to do. Your transmission oil, I think you guys can do that about every 3 or 4,000 years, every 3 to 4,000 years. Again, depends how much you guys take out your lowrider. Power steering, you know, I say every 5 years, swap it out. Do your power steering fluid. Make sure that's up to date. And also your brake fluid. from your master cylinders right here. Um, People ask, well, how can I extract my brake fluid? Well, pretty much just keep bleeding or take off your calipers and press on the brake pedal, and you can push out all that old fluid and put in new fluid until you start seeing cleaner fluid come out of the lines. Pretty much that. Just keep bleeding them until you see clear fluid come out. Let's see what else before we move on to the hydraulics. I mean, we kind of did with the hydraulic cylinder. It goes for the fronts and backs. But for me, I have to swap these out every 2 years. The backs, I don't swap them out until 4 years, because they don't go bad until 4 years for me, because I don't hit the, switches in the back that often. Make sure your filters, air filters, are pretty clean. Don't forget about that when you're swapping your, doing an oil change. Don't forget about your oil filters. I recommend going with the top-notch, expensive stuff when it goes into my lowrider, because I want the motor to last as long as I can. But in my case, this motor's gonna come out. So this motor's coming out. You guys hear that? That's the radiator pushing fluid, coolant, into the reservoir that it doesn't need when it's cooling down, pretty much. It'll just automatically do that. And believe it or not, I don't have it filled with coolant yet, and it's already doing that. So, well, I think that's it for the front, really. And one thing you guys don't want to forget is the wheel bearings. For the homies that have, extended A-arms, the extended A-arms it puts a lot of pressure on the wheel bearings. And they're pretty easy to do. Just take off your brake calipers, take off your rotor, and take off a nut, and pretty much the hub comes off, and you can swap out your bearings. It's pretty easy. So that's another thing, swapping out the bearings. So that's pretty much it for the front suspension. We got the wheel bearings, we got the lower and upper ball joints, we got your inner tie rods, and all your 4 bushings. Pretty much. Okay, so now we let's move on to the hydraulics, I guess. You guys are gonna have, most of you guys are gonna have trailing arms. Oh, I still got leaf springs, so I don't got to worry about bushings back here. But on your trailing arms, want to do the same thing as the front. Replace the bushings, 2 to 3 years, depending how much, like I said, depending how much you use your lowrider. Okay. Ignore my ugly wheels. I did these wheels a long time ago. And this truck's gonna get a whole new frame that I'm gonna be wrapping pretty soon. So these wheels were back when I was starting back up on welding. So don't make fun of me. But whatever, you guys can, it's just YouTube. Alright. Well, oh, and one thing that people do end up forgetting is when you work on when you want to build a lowrider, you're building, whether it's from the 80s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, make sure you swap out that diff fluid. Everybody forgets about that. So swap out your diff fluid. It's super easy to do. Just take off the diff cover right there, put it back on with a new gasket, and then there's a plug somewhere on the pumpkin right here, where you put in the new fluid. So make sure you do that. And make sure you swap out your U-joints that are on your drive shaft, the front and the back. If yours has 2, some have just 1, but make sure you swap out those U-joints that are connected to the drive shafts. So that's one thing to look for as well for maintenance. Alright, well, let's move on. Let's see if I can open this thing up with one hand. Probably not, so let me come back. Okay, so maintenance on your hydraulics now. That's where we're moving on to. Check how old your batteries are. If they're older than, let's say, 2 to 3 years, it's probably time. This time, I can't talk today. It's probably time to start cycling them out. Put new batteries in, get rid of the old ones. Batteries are pretty much not made, for us to use it like this, So they do take a beating to where we, use the hydraulics and then we charge them. They pretty much take a beating. Oh, wait. Got the hiccups today. So just keep that in mind. Get rid of your old batteries if they're holding a charge above 11.75 volts, then they're still good. You still got another a year or something out of them. But during the off season, for some of you guys, like for me, I live in Oregon, and low riding really only exists during the summer. Just, and they began using salt out here in the winter. So if any lowriders are cruising in the winter time, get caught, and if they start rusting, we know why. But yeah, in the off season, make sure you guys keep your batteries charged whether you're not using them. If you take them out of your ride and you need to put them in your garage, make sure you guys put them on wood blocks. You don't want to put them straight onto the concrete. The concrete will somehow grab charge of the battery and drain the battery. So make sure you lay your batteries on wood on the floor if you have to. So do that, okay? And moving on, maintenance on solenoids. There's not much you can do until they really go bad. And this is totally up to you guys. If your solenoids are older than 3 years, I mean, same concept as the batteries. Start getting rid of your older ones one by one. If you want, you don't have to. You can wait until they burn out and then swap them out. That's totally up to you. So there's not much you can do with solenoids and batteries. Batteries, low voltage, solenoids till they burn out. Moving on to the hydros. So on the hydros, maintenance, make sure you change your fluid on your lowrider at the end of the summer. Okay, pretty much. It gets dirty pretty quick, but the more often you change your fluid, the less dirty it'll be next time you change your fluid. And then you can prolong the oil changes on the hydraulics. All right. Pretty much maintenance on these things would be the O-rings, pretty much on everything. The O-rings that are in the gears inside the tanks, the O-rings that are on the blocks themselves, the one that that the tank goes above, and then there's one on the block in between the gear. There's an O-ring there, and then your O-rings on your dumps. You want to make sure that you guys swap those out, once, on every 2 years, I want to say. That way you don't have any issues of anything leaking, And say, for example, you're hitting the switch but nothing's happening. One thing could be is that the O-ring that's in between the block and the gear it had blown out. So it's letting oil go back into the tank instead of going up and through the line into your cylinder. So that's one thing. I'll show you guys here in a sec which O-ring I'm talking about. But pretty much O-rings and gaskets in general on the pump need to be swapped out every 2 to 3 years. And again, I can't stress this enough. It all depends on how hard you guys go on your hydraulics. I go hard on my front pump. So I make sure that thing's taken care of at the end of every summer. Because last thing I want to do is pull over and because I can't raise it up anymore. So, and I have an 8x stump. Those are expensive. So, you know, I go hard on my stuff, but I'm not done with it either. So, you know, I'm smart about it. That's pretty much it for maintenance on the lowrider. But here, let me show you what I'm talking about. Walk over back to my garage. Oh man. Oop. So here you got your block. Here you got the O-ring that the tank sits on, and then here's the O-ring right here where the gear sits on this side of the block. Now once this is pretty much given out or blown out, you need to swap out that O-ring if your ride doesn't go up anymore. It could also be the O-ring in your gear itself. So either way, you're gonna have to take your block apart. This block, I'm shipping it out to a subscriber on Monday. This is the block that was in my truck that pretty much looks bad now. I had a canopy in the back of my truck, and it moved and it was arcing on the block. The valve stem can be replaced. The block itself can be fixed. You just need to weld on some aluminum, weld right here, and then pretty much grind it to where it's flat. I kind of polished it for the homie, you know, for the subscriber. It's pretty much as good as it's gonna get. Signed it for the homie. So that's going out on Monday to a subscriber. So that pretty much covers maintenance on a lowrider. So it's not much, but it's mine. Build it the way you want it. Don't let it, you know, people tell you how you can or can't build it. You know, there's car clubs that are strict about it. I don't know why they're strict about it, but I don't think clubs should be strict on how you should build your ride or how much you should put in it. If you want to go a little bit, then that's up to you. You want to go all out, do it. Don't let people tell you that you don't have enough put into your ride. To me, that's not being a friend. If people tell you that, they're not your friend. They're not. So, but hopefully I covered pretty much maintenance for a lowrider. It's not much. It's a short video. I haven't been able to make a video on it or lately because of Regal is out right now. It's supposed to be coming back soon from paint, so we'll be seeing that Regal soon. But yeah, you guys want to see how the powder coat came out? And again, it looks better in person. And in the video, it looks really bad. But then again, my control arms, my lowers, I gotta clean them because they're still greasy. I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but here at Follow Me on Instagram, I posted on why I'm mad. Okay, so the reason why I did all of this, you know, to what I've done to my truck so far, I changed the rack, I did some powder coat chrome stuff. I did it all because I wanted it to look nice for my car show. It did not make it to my own damn car show, so that pissed me off to no end. So I was super pissed that day. I woke up early to wash it and to take it, but as soon as I was pulling it out of the garage, I completely forgot to buy brake fluid. I had no brakes. So that pissed me off. Oh well, what am I gonna do? So since it didn't make it to my car show, it's time to take it apart, and I'm gonna powder coat my upper arms as well. I'm gonna do another coat on my springs and see how it looks with 2 coats, because everything you see here has 1 coat of powder coat. I'm gonna do 1 more coat on the springs. I want to see how if they're better. And people ask if powder coat can be polished. I honestly don't know. People ask if they can be clear coated. They sell powder coat clear coat, so maybe I'll do a test run when I make a powder coat video for you guys that you guys been requesting. So I am gonna make a powder coat video on how the full process, so you guys will see that soon. So yeah, and those special videos that I'm promising you guys are coming up very soon, so watch out for that. It's a special video. I think it's a new way where I'm gonna take the channel. So stay tuned for those. Well, all right, everybody. If you guys didn't like the video, I don't blame you. It was a short, kind of dumb video, but hey, if you guys like watching Lowrider stuff, no matter what, or you guys want to hear something that you guys didn't even know before, well, I'm glad you heard it from me. Well, that's it, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram. Peace.